It's been a long week, right? Are you ready to wind down? Why not? It's time for the Wine Time Fridays podcast with Shelley and Phil. Neither are sommeliers, but both have a deep passion for life, each other, and of course, delicious wine. And now, here to talk about this week over a glass of wine is Shelley and Phil. It's wine time. Hello and welcome to another episode of Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil on this Friday. Why do I always say Friday now? On this Friday.
About the date.
I think you're right. March 29th, 2024, episode 206. By the way, happy Easter. Easter's on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Happy Friday, Shelley. It's wine time.
Happy Friday.
Sounds like a train.
Yeah.
Today we are delighted and excited to have another guest to put a bow on the first of two Washington wine months. As you know, Washington is such a great wine state that they get two wine months. And so through a lot of juggling of connections and whatnot, we have with us Brent. Oh, Brent, I meant to ask you this before we started. Is your last name pronounced Charnley?
Charnley, with sort of you can hear the N. Charnley.
Okay. All right. I feel like I got pretty close on that for a stab in the dark. With Lopez Island Vineyards. Brent, welcome to Wine Time Fridays. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's a lot of talking and no wine in our glass. So I'm going to tell a little story while I'm opening this wine and play for time. So a long, long time ago, Shelley, like a long time ago, I went to First Lutheran Church of West Seattle, and there was somebody that went to church there as well. It's amazing sometimes how these things come around on social media. Her name is Julie Tudor at the time. Now it's Julie Tudor Murphy. And we've been talking a little bit on social from time to time because she realizes we like wine. And all of a sudden she's like, have you tried anything from Lopez Island Vineyards? I'm like, no. Do they have Madeleine Angevine? She's like, yes, they do. Yeah. We have been looking for this Madeleine for a long time. This wine is one of our favorites with shellfish, crab cakes, really almost oysters. Yes, like Kumamoto's.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we've been a big fan of San Juan Vineyards, and then Yvonne, I think it's Evelyn, one of the two. Yvonne sold it.
Yeah.
Yep, sold it. So we don't have a in with her anymore. So
we're so excited.
We are so excited to be pouring a little bit of our favorite summer white quaffer, this 2022 Lopez Island Vineyards. Get it right. There we go. Madeleine Angevine.
AKA Mad Angie.
Mad Angie, that's right.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
In fact, Brent and I were talking, last week, and he. How did you pronounce that, Brent?
Madeleine Angevine.
Angevine. I'm going to have to start changing that, except for then we'll have to call it Los Angeles.
Well, this is French.
Well, that's Spanish. Madeleine Angevine.
Angevine.
To health, wealth, and abundance, gratitude, romance,
and peace on earth.
Peace on earth.
Delicious.
Yes. What did you say the residual? What did you say the residual sugar? This is tart.
It is.
Yeah, it is. This was a very crisp, high acid vintage. The residual sugar is actually 0.4%, but there's enough acidity to bring it in pretty dry, crisp in the mouth.
It's fantastic. It's what we love about this wine, especially when you get those Kumamoto oysters, I'm going to talk very specific. The Kumamoto oysters off the grill, the shell pops open with gloves on. You take it off, ruin the gloves, the mitts, because of all the sea water in there and all of the juices. And then you open it up and you have a little melted butter and some Tabasco and and lemon, right? Mm-hmm. And you mix it in a little itty bitty dish, and you dip that little Kumamoto deliciousness. And then with this, there's probably nothing I like better than that pairing in the entire world.
In the entire world.
Maybe a good Cab Franc with a steak or Malbec. But this is just so good, and this is not at all. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Tell us a little bit about this, would you?
Sure. Well, the history of the grape is, several different French people have mentioned they believe it comes from the Anjou region of the Loire Valley. And its parentage is Madeleine Royale and Precoce de Malingre. Wow. Two very obscure grapes. Al Stratton used to have the Precoce de Malingre up at Mount Baker Vineyards like 30, 40 years ago. But I know of no other planting or growing of it anywhere anymore. I feel like this... so I don't really know the origins of the flavors in this one as much. There's the sort of tree fruit, tropical fruit quality to it, citrusy. And I would assume that came maybe from the Madeleine Royale, because the Precoce was more Sauvignon Blanc-like, which this can be, not your New Zealand grassy Sauv Blanc, but more like a Sancerre. Where you get the fruit and less of the herbal notes.
So these grapes were obviously harvested from Eastern Washington, because that's all the AVAs are, all in Eastern Washington, right? Nothing over on the west side of the mountains.
But au contraire.
Oh, really? I was told you know French spoken.
We have 2.5 acres of Madeleine Angevine here on Lopez Island in the San Juans. We were the first to commercially plant grapevines here in 1987.
Wow.
The choice of the location and the varieties went back to early research and experience that I gained through WSU research station in Mount Vernon, who had planted a grape trial in the 1970s, 72 or 74. That was one of the varieties that was brought in. It could have come via Sydney, BC research station, but it's been grown in England. And so it seemed a natural one to try in the Pacific Northwest. And I got to taste it early on from Mount Baker Vineyards, working with it. And then when I was their winemaker for 4 years, I got to actually work with it, see how it ripened, what kind of types of wine you could make from it. I think a sparkler is a beautiful wine from that.
Oh boy, that would be fun.
And of course, this still wine is more your seafood pairing type of wine. So that's where we chose to go with it. And I think I knew by 1985 that this grape would ripen here, and was lucky enough to find a lease that turned out to be probably one of the best spots on the island.
Nice.
We had,
of course, for the first time, Rocky Pond is now a sponsor on the podcast. We really appreciate that. It was a few months ago we had Liz Keyser, who's the winemaker with Rocky Pond, on, and she moved up from Napa, said she's going to be making wine in Washington State, And people said, oh, isn't that too cold and rainy there? And she said, you haven't been to Eastern Washington. Well, the Puget Sound AVA is a bit chilly and damp, but it's perfect for this grape varietal as well as the Siegerrebe. Is that not correct?
Yes. Yeah. And there are locations on the mainland which are far warmer or down sound. They don't have the cold ocean water coming in twice a day like we do, and they're ripening Chardonnay and Pinot Noir and making some beautiful wines. So the whole region has this reputation of being rainy and damp, but there's actually less rainfall here than Burgundy and Bordeaux. And
are you in the banana belt there in
we are in particular, we are in the rain shadow here, so our annual rain's only 22 inches.
Yes, Squim and all of those cities up in the peninsula there have this like band that they call the banana belt. It's probably the convergence of the ocean and the mountains kind of keeps rain away. Is that how that works?
Yeah, basically the weather systems come in more or less from the southwest, and the Olympics parts it like a rock in a stream. And so you'll see in the satellite photographs, the whole west side will be under fog, except for this hole in the clouds that's on the northeast side of the Olympic Mountains. So Squim is sort of the center of it. And depending on the direction of the wind, that hole can skew a little more towards mid-Whidbey Island or more towards San Juan Island, but Lopez is also sort of in the eye of it. The south end of our island has cacti. It's a unusual cactus. And it gets 19 inches down there, and most of that's in the winter. And that's the one thing about all of Puget Sound is we get a lot of rain, but it's sort of from late October till March. And then it's drier than our summers are drier than the growing regions of Europe. So, we have this reputation, and, the Wine Commission hasn't helped because they've been trying to tell the world that, hey, no, it's dry. It's, we've got this desert over here. It's wet on that side. And so it hasn't helped us sort of get our message out that, no, it's actually a real premium growing area. It's just cool.
I was alive and in West Seattle with 100 days of precipitation in a row. It doesn't happen a lot, and it was kind of monumental even then. Yeah,
but that's the third of the year. It's the winter, and I've been to France in February. It's raining.
Well, you said cacti in your area. I am wearing a Joshua Tree shirt and. Paying homage to Lindsay and Brian down in Joshua Tree, where there's plenty of cacti. Yes. You have anything? I had something, and I just went poof right out of my head.
I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit more about your winery itself? When did you start, and what's your background with that?
Sure. Yeah. This whole crazy idea sort of started when I was 21, and I was sort of casting around. I was in the middle of university studies and didn't really know what I wanted to study. So I decided to do a little traveling, see if I could stumble into something. And while I was traveling in Europe and hitchhiking around, I met somebody who had lived and worked on this vineyard, and she suggested I write them, and I did. And I ended up on a vineyard in the eastern part of Bordeaux for the full growing season in 1979. And that sort of really stuck, particularly the growing side of the industry of growing grapes. So that sort of led to coming back to the States and trying to figure out how am I going to learn how to make wine? Because I had friends who were trying small farming, and you could tell if you're not going to sell those lettuces, they're just going to go bad, or your berries or whatever. So I had the idea then of, before I even got the grapes and wine idea, of a shelf-stable, high-value product. And so wine, of course, fits that.
Oh, yeah.
Shelf-stable for sure. We got Miss Squirmy over here.
Yeah. So that that led to study at UC Davis, which was one of the 2 places in the country, or 3, to study winemaking then. And my return to Western Washington and Lopez, which had been a summer childhood haunt of when I was young, our family. And the research, as I mentioned, with the WSU research station with Mount Baker Vineyards, and then finding a place here on Lopez. So the next element of the story was, how are we going to fund this?
That might be
There's
the
always that part.
first element of most of the winery stories.
We didn't have that big fortune to make into a small fortune, as the saying goes.
You started with a small fortune to begin with.
Yeah, we didn't even start with that. So what we did is, on the suggestion of a CPA we were using here, go through Washington State and do a small-scale stock offering. And we garnered support in our community by selling stock. And so we have 75 shareholders in this business.
Nice.
And so it was the equivalent of the GoFundMe.
Yeah, for sure.
Back, 40 years ago.
Julie is one of those shareholders as well, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
The Murphys are. Yeah.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
I just opened this Siegerrebe, Shelley,
You'll have to taste it.
because we're going to make sure we move at a decent pace through this. Brent, I sometimes go a little long.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
I appreciate moving along the day. I did do carpentry all day, so.
What were you building today?
We've been building a garage for these folks. Well, as the crow flies, only half a mile from here. I have to drive around the agricultural field, but simple project. And, we're used to doing fine carpentry, and we have to keep reminding ourselves it's a garage.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's hard to kind of break from that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. The nose on this thing. This is a 2022. Okay, why don't you tell me the correct way of saying this?
I wish I could. I'll do my best. Siegerrebe.
Okay.
Siegerrebe.
Or Siegerrebe is how we pronounce it.
Yeah, we always anglicize it. We don't even have the German accent right. It means champion grape. So Sieg
The
is
nose on this.
champion or king, and Rebe is grape. So Siegerrebe. We call it Ziggy,
Oh, nice. We have Matt, Angie, and Ziggy.
Yes.
Hashtag cheersing.
Good friends.
That's their good friends.
Yeah. So Siegerrebe is its parentage is Gewürztraminer and Madeleine Angevine. And it was part of extensive, trials and crossings done in Germany. And it looks like Gewürztraminer on the vine. It's a beautiful reddish-hued grape. The leaves are dead ringers for Gewürztraminer leaves. It's just weeks earlier. And the challenge in growing it is having too much heat. That, again, the Pacific Northwest on this side is perfect for it because the acidity drops dramatically, and anywhere hot, that's going to fall out on you pretty quick.
Well, it can get warm in where you are also, but
yeah,
you're surrounded by water. I have to say this. I thought it was really funny when you said, over on the mainland, it's just ferry boat right away.
Yeah.
But you're surrounded by water. It's going to keep those temps cool for sure. Are the harvest times similar for the Madeleine Angevine and the Siegerrebe?
Siegerrebe is earliest, and we've been picking it. And I don't know if it's a warming trend. I sort of suspect it could be. We've been picking it around September 1st.
Pretty early.
And it's pretty early.
This is really good.
Yeah.
I get some Merlot and Chardonnay from the Prosser area of Yakima Valley, and I'm usually picking before they're picking those, which, Chardonnay in particular is an earlier grape. So now Now that Prosser isn't the hottest spot in Eastern Washington. It's one of the cooler, but it's a lot warmer than here. And so
That's right around Red Mountain, right, Prosser?
yeah, it's up valley a little ways, 20 miles or so.
We're going to be there on the 5th of April for the barrel roll at Frechette.
That's right.
Oh, great.
We'll
Yeah.
probably do some other tastings.
Yeah, there's a good number of wineries right there.
This is very similar tasting to a Gewurz. So if you like Gewürztraminer, you will love this.
So
Yeah.
we went in this order because I had actually put this first, and Brent suggested we do the second because he said it would really compete, or if we did the sweeter wine first, the other one would really taste tart.
Oh, yeah.
And so we started with the drier one, but although this tastes sweet-ish, I'm guessing it's not more than 1% of residual sugar.
Yeah, it's just under 1%.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're right on that. And the
That's-
acidity, that's one of the key ripening parameter I'm monitoring and picking for is acidity, just to make sure it has that nice, clean, crisp finish. And,
Really good.
the 2022 was cooler year and the wines were higher in acid. This was Eastern Washington as well. This 2023, the Madeleine is bone dry and it's got a beautiful acidity, but it's lower than this vintage we've tasted now. And the Siegerrebe lower residual sugar as well. But it's still got the acidity to make a nice, clean, crisp wine. This one,
Has this one been on oak?
no,
But the Madeleine Angevine was on neutral oak, right?
neutral oak, for a brief period of time. Yeah.
And your food pairings, we've already covered that with the Madeleine. Would that be vastly different with this or similar?
We've had it with sushi, and it's beautiful with that. I've also had it with oysters where somebody put a little, fruit chutney, like a little grapefruit and stuff on it. And we often will open it when we're doing Thai food, where you have that little bit of spiciness. And the little bit of sweetness of the wine helps cut any hot spices from the food off your tongue.
Kind of rounds that out a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. And, this wine seems to stand up nicely to, Thai or mild curries or something.
Curries, yeah.
Yeah. So
We should take a quick break.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to start tinting up our glasses a little bit with the Rosé and then end up with the Sangio. But for the first time, by the way, for those watching on YouTube, Shelly is really not happy with me on my Easter setup up here. I've got Easter eggs, Easter bunnies, and everything. I think it looks fine and fantastic. Maybe you can all write in and say how much I'm wrong and how she is right. And she's like, will you just let me do the decorating? When we come back, we'll get into the Rosé.
I was looking for the dump bucket, actually.
Oh, the dump bucket.
There you go, dump
I'm the
bucket.
dump bucket. We're going to hear from our new sponsor, Rocky Pond Winery, right now. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays with Shelly and Phil and Brent. I'm going to say it right without even asking. Charnley. Brent Charnley.
Good job.
good job.
I have my moments.
Yeah.
With Lopez Island Vineyards. It's always nice to have an exclamation point in the proper spot. We have just tasted through two wines with the vintage of 2022, the Madeleine Angevine,
Angevine.
and the Siegerrebe, both $27, by the way. And now we've just opened this 2022 Lopez Island Vineyards Rosé. I'm
Pretty
liking,
color.
I know, this is great. I'm really liking this
You
right
have to
here.
pour it.
Oh, yes, that's true. Thank you. What is this a rosé of, Brent?
This is a rosé of 50% Merlot and 50% Syrah.
Ah,
And I picked those to just sort of get the interesting flavor of Crawford Vineyard Merlot, which really has a beautiful cherry quality to it. And then there's Syrah, which is more of a raspberry notes. I also have these pulled earlier than I would for making red wine. So we get the acidity to it. We get the bright fruit flavors rather than the sort of overripe fruit flavors you get in red wine making.
You got it right about the bright fruit flavors. It is really bright and red cherries.
Yeah.
I get
this
watermelon.
Watermelon.
Yeah, that beautiful color has come from just about 12 hours of skin contact.
Yep.
So it's not a side part of red wine making. It's totally making a wine on its own. And we also make a Merlot from the Crawford Vineyards, but we have to go back a second time for those.
Yeah. So when you say go back a second time, these are not from the Puget Sound AVA. These are from the other side of the mountain.
Yakima Valley.
Yep. And 12 hours on the skins. There's a trend going these days to have a lighter color rosé. But I think this is beautiful. It's got fantastic color. My guess is it's also below 1% in residual sugar, maybe 0.5%.
Yeah, I think this one's about 0.4 as well.
Man, what a great summer quaffing wine.
Yes. Yeah.
We say rosé all day. I think it's rosé every day, but that's just
me. Well, we sure do, and it's food versatile. You know, it'll do the pizza, it'll do the burgers, it'll do salmon. It's fantastic that way. You know, for people my generation, rosés were candy wine. They were sweet.
Yeah.
You know, so
they still have a bad rap, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do, particularly in the older generation like myself. Yeah. It's because of our experience in our youth of, you know, maybe having too much sweet rosé and never wanting to touch it again.
Well, and I think it gets compared to White Zinfandel. Well, it's the same thing, right? It's like,
exactly.
You couldn't be more different.
So some 15 years ago, we went as a family to France, and it's because the people who were my mentors there in France, we'd been exchanging letters for years. And I said, well, I really want to see you guys. And they said, don't wait much longer. So we went, and they pulled these beautiful rosés from their wine cellar that were Bordeaux rosés. And of course, we'd been through Côte de Rhône coming toward, you know, through our tour through France and tasted wonderful rosés there. And it was like, we should do that. And so here we are. Yeah.
How long have you been doing rosé?
Probably about 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And always drier like this, you know, usually even a little drier.
Yeah. This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. Where can people find your wines? I'm pretty sure. Well, how many cases are you producing a year? Let's start with that.
We're producing around 1,000 cases a year. Okay. And we pretty much distribute within San Juan County, the islands here. And then we sell retail through farmers markets down Edmonds, Lake Forest Park, Everett, Anacortes, and Lopez. And those have turned out to be a good place. You know, when we started, there were 70 wineries in the state, and people called us to get our wine in their shop. You know, it marketed itself. So it was a pretty dramatic change, probably around 2005 or 2008. Then the recession hit, when all of a sudden there was 1,000 wineries in the state. And no one wants to talk to you. They've talked to too many winemakers, that year or that day or whatever. We have found by being at the farmers market, we're face to face with people. You can sample wine in Washington State Farmers Market. So it's been a nice little sort of niche for us to keep.
Well, you had mentioned. Yeah, you had mentioned 5 or 6 farmers markets, so those generally run on Saturdays in most cases. Saturdays, how do you do them all?
We've been really lucky and had a pretty loyal crew of their school teachers, and
they need their wine.
They need their wine, so that's a big bonus from it, and a summer part-time job, so it's worked out really well. And,
nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you have a wine club?
We do. So we do sell through our website, and there's a wine club there. And it's sort of, you get to order what you want. We don't send stuff blind, and discount for, we have a few people at, 36 bottles a year. So they're getting 20% off on that.
Sure. The wine clubs are great because as long as you keep them happy, they are, you already have them locked in buying a certain amount. Yes. So when you're producing the wines, there's a percentage that's already sold, pre-sold in a sense.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool, Yeah. This is really, really good.
Yep.
Yeah, we really love this wine. Again, I'm not putting this one down, but the 2023, I just preparing it for bottling, and it knocks your socks off.
We'll have to go order
this.
Well, so we mentioned the first 2 wines, the whites, $27 a bottle, which for that quality is really a real good value. Okay, these are probably $40-$45 QPR wines, and they're being sold for $27. This rosé, however, $22.
Yeah,
come on. Yeah, $22 for a rosé of this caliber. So I was gonna get some crab cakes. I haven't done that yet. I kind of want to, maybe for appetizer tonight. We're running out of day, but I really want to have crab cakes with all of these wines so far. I think they'd be freaking awesome.
We are now tasting a red. This is our first red today.
It might be our last red for this episode.
I think you're right.
By the way, 2 weeks ago.
This is a
Sangiovese, yes. 2 weeks ago, Lucy, she still had a diaper on because she's still like in heat, was rubbing and making noise everywhere when we were with Foolhardy. And last week, no noise, no anything. But it seems like she's really wanting to be in Shelley's lap through these episodes these days. And she just kind of is limp right in your lap.
Yep, she wants to be on the show. And last time she was barking at herself on the computer.
Yeah, we won't let her look at that. This is another 2022 Lopez Island Vineyards Sangiovese. Is this 100% Sangio?
100% Sangiovese.
Love it.
It's from Elephant Mountain Vineyards, which is in the Rattlesnake Hills.
Oh, man.
It's right at the western edge of the Rattlesnake Appellation, near the town of Wapato.
Oh, near Chelan.
No, Yakima.
Oh, that's Wapato Point I'm thinking of.
Yes. Yeah, the town of Wapato, which really isn't a town, but there we are.
Little place.
Not that I've seen. There's a beautiful old you see it from I-90 hop kiln by the exit. And then Elephant Mountain is up to the north there as you're coming west, just before you get to Union Gap. And from the south side, it doesn't look like an elephant. I never understood why it looked like an elephant, but one year I came at it from the north, and you go over Kanawak Pass, and when you see it from Moxie, the town of Moxie, it's an elephant. It's a beautiful place up there. You'd think you were in Italy when you stand in the vineyard and look out across rolling hills and vineyards and orchards, and then there's these, basalt rock outcroppings that look like castle ruins or something. And it's when you turn around and see the sagebrush, you realize you're not in Italy anymore. Yeah, it's a beautiful mountainside vineyard, now south slope, and ripens Sangiovese beautifully, which is a later ripening grape. This particular vintage, again, cool year, so a lot more acidity than normal in this, and I think a nice lighter style red, without the sort of monster tannins you have to wait years to get through.
Well, the Washington Sangios don't really have those monster tannins as they might in Chianti or something like that. Shelley, what are I need to know from you what you're getting on the nose and the taste of this, because this is really good.
It is really good. Normally, I don't like Sangiovese from Italy, but I'm finding I like Washington State Sangiovese for some reason.
Yep. The nose on this is spectacular. Brent, this wine is blowing me away.
Yeah. This is our go-to for anything Italian. It seems to go well with the oregano and the basil and the garlic and the tomato. There's acidity here to counter any fats in your sauces and stuff. Just nice.
I know our viewers.
It's wonderful.
Our viewers don't want to see me, but I want our viewers to see me.
Sorry.
So this is going to be perfect with your lasagnas and your spaghettis. And I would venture to guess even some tacos would be good with this.
Yeah, tacos.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Would be good.
So is this on oak at all?
Yeah, it's all neutral oak.
Okay.
And this vintage had a year. Right now we're working on the 23, and it'll have about a year too, I think, as we work through. This was bottled not long ago, and it's steadily improving with the time in the bottle. I think it was about 5 months ago. So it should be, I think, a beautiful. It'll hold well for Sangiovese for up to 10 years.
Oh, wow. Nice. I was just going to ask how you're building these wines to last. This is a $26 bottle of wine. So by the way, let's review all wines under $30.
Yeah.
Between 22 and 27, and unbelievable quality. And we tout people trying new wines. If you haven't tried a Madeleine Angevine or a Siegerrebe, you probably tried a Sangio, probably had a Rosé. But
Sangiovese is the grape that's in the Chiantis.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
And of course, they have laws that say you have to have Sangiovese if it's in Chianti. But you don't. You say, we love Sangiovese, and we have a great vineyard that's growing great Sangio grapes, and we're going to go ahead and lease part of those vines and make our own Sangiovese. Yeah. So that's the beauty of the New World aspect of this, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, there isn't the requirements on the blends or anything like that. And so we're sort of free to try different grapes in different places till you find the one that's right for that spot. And then you're sort of free on the winemaking with it, what you might blend or not blend, as the case may be. most Chiantis have other grapes blended. I think there's only one sub-region that's 100% Sangiovese and Chianti.
I didn't know that.
So they usually have a little something else in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have found that Sangioveses from Chianti that are higher percentage of Sangiovese, the nose isn't very, it's not there. It's not very prevalent.
It's not very fruity.
Yeah, one would say bland. It's just not got a lot to it. But it's designed to cut through those Italian dishes, right? Which is all well and good. But if you're having a glass of wine to enjoy while you're making dinner, it's not very fun, right? But what we found was the more they would blend a Merlot in there, I think most of it was Merlot they would blend in, all of a sudden the body expanded and the nose went a little deeper. Which, you know, and it still works with food, but it also works without food, which is nice.
Blends are always fun to do. They're hard to do, I find, but they're more complex wine in the end, and so it's always more interesting.
We're in the end of March right now. Brent, what are you doing in your wine day? Not your carpenter day, but your wine day these days. Is it you have obviously harvested and put in barrel? Have you bottled anything yet, or?
We haven't bottled anything yet. We've brought in bottles to do our 22 Merlot and Malbec and our 22 Chardonnay. So we'll be bottling those over the next month. So we'll be taking wine from barrels to get them off any lees and sediment and returning them back to barrels. Cabernet, the 23 Chardonnay, and Malbec and Merlot and Sangio. So those are sort of the winemaking tasks that are immediately at hand. The vineyard, my wife Maggie finished pruning. She was done before March 1st.
Oh, wow.
There's 5,000 vines out there. So
she does that herself?
She does.
Oh, my goodness.
We used to do it together, but as I have indicated, I'm doing another job these winters. So she's managed it herself. And
all manually pruned.
Yeah, we have a battery-powered pruner.
We have one of those too.
First it was carpal tunnel. With hand pruners, and then with loppers it was rotator cuffs. And that's when we invested in the Felco battery-powered pruner, and what a saver, you know. And so that helps. It helps you prune longer in a day than you would otherwise.
Interesting.
She likes to keep it down to about 3 hours because, you know, you're still rotating your hand and you're carrying this heavy pruner. So keep it down. But she starts in December when we've had a good freeze and then tries to be done by March 1st. And she did that this year. So everything's tied down now. The trellis has been cleared. We have a beautiful cover crop coming up, clover and rye.
Nice.
And we'll turn the sheep into it this week and let them mow the cover crop. And we expect bud break, you know, around somewhere between April 1st and April 7th.
We were in Woodinville last Saturday and saw all sorts of cherry blossoms.
Oh, cherry blossoms.
Oh, yeah.
It was there. Of course, here in Coeur d'Alene, we won't see that for a while. But so let me ask you: in the middle of January, the state of Washington and here in North Idaho had some pretty deep freeze for anywhere from 4 to 6 days. Here in Coeur d'Alene, we got down to minus 16 degrees. We were in the Tri-Cities for minus 8. What were you guys there, and how did your vines take to that? They're not used to cold weather.
Yeah, we hit a record low for the 37 years we have been recording temperatures in the vineyard, and it was 8.
Wow.
It was one night only,
Okay, good.
There was a northeast wind blowing about 25 knots. And when we get those Arctic blasts, we get these strong northeasterly winds with them.
Yeah, you do. They're bone chilling.
So in that 35 years, we've hit 13, 2 or 3 times over that span of years. So 8 was the coldest it's been. We didn't see any damage.
A one night is probably, but I'm sure you were looking at those temps in the forecast and really like, what would you do if it went 3 or 4 or 5 nights of those temps where you would get, these are grapes that don't like that cold. They don't like the heat and they don't like that cold. So
any of the vinifera grapevines, you'll start to see damage to the tissues below 10, and you'll start to get trunk damage below 0. So, and it all depends how fast it comes too. In Eastern Washington, you can go from real warm days and all of a sudden it's cold as,
cold.
the Arctic. Cold as the Arctic in a night. So
I know you're thinking cold as something in a brass bra, but
Oh my God.
so it tapers down here, and the vines get dormant. They get a nice dormancy set in before it gets, that hard of a freeze.
Nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
What other wines do you make and sell at your winery? What are the varietals?
Starting with the whites, we do a blend of the Madeleine and Siegerrebe we call Wave Crest White.
Nice.
And it's about 70% Madeleine, 30% Siegy. We do a Chardonnay, which is done in neutral oak. And that's from the Prosser area of Yakima Valley. And then in the reds, we do, as I mentioned, we do a full-bodied red Merlot, same vineyard that we get the Merlot for the Rosé. And we do Malbec, and we do a Cabernet blend that we call Ravenscock. And it's Cab, Merlot, Malbec primarily. So more of a Bordeaux kind of proportions.
And I also read that you do a fireside port.
Ooh.
This is true, yes. And
That's true.
that is Sangiovese and Malbec in that wine. And we take wine to San Juan Distillery on San Juan Island, where they make some beautiful gins and whatnot, and they distill the wine for us. So we get a nice brandy for our fireside from that to fortify it.
Isn't that like in a bourbon barrel of sorts?
The brandy we bring over neutral. They do. They actually have, and they're about to release a Siegerrebe brandy that's from our wine, and that has been done in a small oak, a French oak cask. It's really a wonderful little product. But we don't age the spirits. We bring them over for use in making a fireside. And often there's a beautiful note to that just on its own.
Yum, yum, yum.
I know. I'm just wanting to try it right now. We're going to take one last break. When we come back, we're going to actually talk a little bit about the wine word of the week and then some things coming up. And we'll be right back. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil and Brent with Lopez Island Vineyards. We have just tasted through all 4 of the wines that we're going to do this episode. The 2022 Madeleine Angevine, $27 at the winery. The 2022 Lopez Island Vineyards Siegerrebe, $27. The 2022, all of these are 22. I'm not going to say it again. Lopez Island Vineyards Rosé, which is Merlot and Sangiovese, right?
Syrah.
And then we ended up with this Sangiovese, 100%, $26 at the winery. And these prices are like off the chart
Amazing.
Good. Yeah. The first two wines were from the Puget Sound AVA. Yes, it does exist. And they're making unbelievable wines. So now we have the social web wine word of the week, Meniscus. Shelley?
It's not a knee.
What?
It's not a knee.
Not a knee, no. Meniscus. You want to say what meniscus is?
It refers to the thin edge of wine at the top of the glass. That part, that thin edge, sometimes is brown if the wine is older.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So there's that.
I've got it says it's caused by the surface tension of the wine. Actually important to the wine tasting. So yeah. By the way, Brent, what was your gateway wine before I get into some of the wines we enjoyed this week?
It must have been French, right? Since you were over there.
Yeah, well, I suppose before I went to France, it was German whites. You know, some of the Rieslings and such from Germany. And once I got to France, it was in the Bordeaux region where I cut my red wine teeth. And so
tough place to cut the teeth there.
Yeah, it was tough going. I mean, I almost gave
Someone's
up.
got to do it.
Yeah. The region where I was Côte de Castillon, and it's right on the east side of Saint-Emilion. And like Saint-Emilion, they have a good percentage Merlot in their vineyards there. And so that was on our table in a pitcher every lunch and every dinner.
I love the French.
Yeah.
Just
so that was really my eye-opening into the greater world of red wine. And then when I was at UC Davis, there was a student club called DEVO, the Davis Enology and Viticulture Organization, and we'd have a monthly tasting. We'd each pitch in $10, and they get about 20 people. And with that, they bought some amazing wines. And we would taste them blind. And so I got to
What year was that?
More and more things from around the world.
Yeah, what year was that?
That was 1983.
Okay.
82, 83, 84. Yeah.
Devo means a little something different than to
We
Shelley
are
and I.
Devo.
We are
Yeah. Well, the band Devo of Devolution was around, so I probably had something to do with it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Some of the wines we enjoyed this week, we had a Seven Falls Merlot, a Gruet Brut Sparkler to signify the first day of drinking wine on the deck, Rivora Cabernet Sauvignon, and the Casalino Brunello di Montalcino. Some things coming up in April, since April comes in, 3 days? Tannat Day is on the 14th. We love Tannat.
We do.
Yeah. Brent, have you had a Tannat, and what do you think of it? Last time I asked that question, they said, no, we don't like it. So.
Yeah. No, I never have had it tonight.
Yeah. They're making some fun Tannats out of Uruguay and southern
Paso
France.
Robles?
Oh, and Paso. That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Talbot's Creek. Malbec, World Malbec Day of the 9th. I am bound and determined to get a Malbec from Red Mountain for that.
Isn't it the 17th?
It is the 17th. The 9th is World Moscato
Yes.
Day. So,
For those people who like sweet wines.
That's right. That's right. What we're expecting next week, Shelley.
Andrew and Cameron
and Andrew with Cuvée the App.
Yes.
I have it on good authority that the wine is in the mail and coming this way.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be tasting through a few of those things. They were with Cuvée Collective, an NFT thing, and they've done a little pivot. We'll get in the weeds with them on that because a good business always has to pivot. It's whether you acknowledge that and see it or just turn a blind eye. Have you had many opportunities or I guess out of necessity to pivot with Lopez Island Vineyards at all, Brent?
To pivot into different products? Is that what you mean?
Just like you thought something was going this way and it ended up needing to go that way?
Yeah, there have been a couple occasions, and I suppose a lot of it had to do with the changing of the wine market and demographics and things like that. So we've had to adjust along the way. Our vineyard we grow using organic methods, and it's been certified organic. And so there was a point where we tried to go 100% organic with what we were buying as well as what we were growing.
Right.
And we just couldn't find the grapes. We had a grower go out of business. We had another grower go out of organic, and another grower who just couldn't manage the quality we wanted. So that sort of ended that avenue, which seemed like a good avenue at the time.
You had a grower go out of organic.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Well,
they panicked. They had an infestation of leaf poppers, and they panicked.
Oh.
And they sprayed them. So
I mean, that was their pivot, I guess.
Yeah, because they're a grower of. They also grow tree fruit, and they have a big line of organic apples and such. So, I think it was hard for them to do too.
Well, they
were newer to wine grapes then, so who knows?
Right.
Now they might do it differently. Yeah.
Well, we both appreciate that you are an organic and sustainable winery, and because that's super important to us. It does take some extra effort and work, but if there's a responsibility, I think, and you're not putting a bunch of crap on your grapes, which is very helpful. Brent, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. One of the great joys we have is actually shining a light on some wineries that are not all that well known. And so hopefully you get a little spike in orders. Hopefully. And you sell out of your wine because of Wine Time Fridays.
That would be great. We'll make more.
Exactly. And again, also thank you to Eternal Wine, Rocky Pond, and CDA Gourmet. Shelley, with a little bit, just a little teeny bit of knowledge, wine becomes a lot less overwhelming. But with all of this information, it really becomes less overwhelming. Thank you for being here. Brent, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's right.
You're welcome. And, thanks for the time.
You bet. We'll see you next week with the Cuvée app.
Ta-da.
Thank you for spending part of your day to wind down with Shelley and Phil. Remember, you can listen to any episode of the Wine Time Fridays podcast by visiting winetimefridays.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us on our Wine Time Fridays Facebook page, Instagram, or on Twitter, which is @VintageTweets, for daily conversation. Until next week, here's our toast to you, to health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, peace on earth, and of course, romance.